Hello, everyone, and welcome to In-House Counsel Insights, which brings together in-house attorneys in a range of practice areas to share experiences and tricks of the trade. On today's show is Xavier Jordan. He is Deputy General Counsel of Sensia. Welcome, Xavier.
Hi, thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, no problem. So did you always want to go in-house?
If I'm being honest with myself, when I think back to the law school days, I don't think I've really thought about it. The goal was to be, go for a big law firm, do
Okay.
deal work, and fast forward 30, 40 years, retire.
Okay.
And so kind of that's how I started off my journey. I went, to outside counsel. I was with Baker Hostetler for a while, Evershed Sutherland for a while, doing typical corporate work. I was an M&A attorney, lots of deals, lots of fun. But then, an opportunity presented itself to go in-house. And I was at that stage in my career, is like, well, which road do I want to go down? Do I want to, go for partnership and, be part of that grind? Or do I want to try something different? And, I met some in-house attorneys, obviously, when I was outside counsel, and they seem to be, their jobs seem pretty interesting, pretty exciting, some of the stuff that came across their desk. And whether I was just getting a little stagnant, seeing, you do, one merger, you kind of do 1,000 of them. They all kind of blend together at some point. Well, you talk to your friends who are in-house, it's like, well, I'm working on this today, working on this thing next week. And a few months ago, I did something completely different. And, it seemed like a nice change of pace. So, begin to turn my focus.
So that's probably the most common thing you hear, is that people like the variety of work, the intimacy with the actual business, the client,
Absolutely.
and maybe more of a work-life balance. I don't know if that's always guaranteed, but I think that's generally what people think. But let me ask you: did you have any fears of letting go of the big law track? Like, for instance, when I was in big law, people used to say, like, once you leave, you never come back, like stuff like that. Like, once you make that decision, that's your decision. And then you do hear some in-house jobs that may not be greener on the other side. I think it's very company specific too. So what fears did you have at the time?
I'd say probably my biggest fear was when you're outside counsel, it is like a true meritocracy. You hit your hours, you're good. You're going to get your, bonus. You're going to, be viewed in a positive light because there are actual metrics that can say, hey, Chris did a great job this year. Maybe our overall group isn't where we wanted to be, but Chris really brought it. He's going to get rewarded, else. While in-house, I could have a fantastic year, close a record, negotiate a record number of deals and get our company out of all kinds of trouble. But with a large organization, if our friends in Asia didn't hit their numbers and the whole, like, no one gets their bonus, that different. And so it's like, I'm not the captain of my own ship anymore. So that was a big fear. But there are, I guess, other perks and benefits that go along with it.
What's your favorite thing?
Like, we talked about, doing different types of work. I think another thing was like the intimacy of who you work with. Fundamentally, I think I got into law because I like to solve problems. And by the time you're outside counsel, so often clients wait till, like, we have flashing red lights, alarm bells are going off, that, okay, it's a big problem. When if they came to you 6 months ago, when you just had a little tremor, like, hey, if we do this, this, and this now, problem solved, no big deal. Business can keep on trucking, and we can do something more interesting. That's probably what I get the biggest kick out of.
So I think larger companies, I think all companies, when they have the ability to hire an in-house attorney, know they probably should. I think oftentimes they might be driven by the cost, at least at that point, of always working with outside counsel. But there's that other thing you talked about. It's having a firefighter that, like, lives in the forest all the time. That's constantly tending to the forest, preventing it getting dry or from a little spark pops up, put it out. Do you think clients know that that's like that there's a lot of things that are problems that are being avoided, and how measurable is that really?
I think an experienced leadership team knows that. I really like your firefighter example, but I feel that so often you might come across people who view the in-house legal function more as a janitor. It's like, we have a mess, someone clean this up, not being more preventative or proactive. Like you say, if you have a firefighter on the ground, picking up, branches and, doing the good for forestry management and all that stuff, you got a lot less problems.
Yeah.
And it's, it's one thing for us to say, hey, because you brought in-house counsel in on this dispute right up front, we were able to avoid, going to litigation or really, getting on the wrong side of a client. We're able to, it's sometimes you don't know what those numbers can spiral out to, but people who kind of appreciate, avoiding risk and think, wow, if I have an in-house attorney, I can save millions and millions just by someone being proactive.
Right, 100%. So, kind of similar to that, do you think that's the best way an in-house attorney can add value, or do you think there's some other ways?
I think organizations that have in-house attorneys, I guess that really embrace their in-house attorneys can see a lot of success, not just by them doing their legal work, but by them, like, by nature of being a lawyer, you kind of have your fingers in everything. You're talking to your friends in HR, you're talking to finance, you're talking to the business units, and you're talking to sales. So you kind of know what everyone's up to, what the priorities are, where the pain points are, and then just seeing where things intersect. And so by you pulling, like if I say the sales guys pulling a lawyer into their meeting, you can say, well, look, guys, I know this is the goal, but I can tell you right now, our friends in finance are concerned about, the free cash flows or our payment terms right. Or our friends in the business unit are concerned about, I guess, delivery schedules and things of that nature. Have you thought through all these other issues? And HR is like, well, you think you can do a project in this country, but do we have the infrastructure to make these hires and, get everything you need before you start promising stuff to the client? I think by just a lawyer being in the room and lawyers just naturally being inquisitive, asking questions and just, learning more, they can help break down these barriers. In addition, of course, just doing legal work and, making clear what we desire on paper. So hopefully the other side understands where we're coming from. And so everyone's on the same page.
100%. And I totally see the in-house legal role is crossing, the bridge between multiple departments and having to understand a lot of the different business units. Do you, it's kind of a two-part question, but where the theme I'm going for here is the recognition that an in-house attorney is a business person, essentially a high-level business person in the organization. I think some organizations recognize that and some don't. So my main question is, how do you get the business people to respect you as the in-house attorney, as a member of the team, as a member of the business?
I think by reassuring them that we're all on the same page. So often I think people in the business view legal as being up in the ivory tower, stating these edicts, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. And I understand that as an attorney, I can write the most beautiful contract in the world, but we don't get paid by the words I write. We get paid by executing the job. And it's my job to make sure that we can execute the job while minimizing our risk. So when the team's talking about we want to do, project XYZ, it's like, all right, I got you, but we might need to be careful, you're mindful of this issue, that issue, that issue, and then how do we ring fence it? How do we make sure that we're not in front of the VP 6 months later saying, how did you not account for this? Or why are we responsible for something, the customer did that was stupid? So when you start talking to them that way and they say, oh, I didn't think about that, or, oh, no, I get it. I mean, yeah, it might take us an extra phone call to work this out with the client, but at the end of the day, we're going to be in a better position. Everyone knows what the score is. And you start building that trust. And it's amazing when you build that trust on helping them with this part of their job, they start coming to you with more issues because they just want that sanity check.
Right. Just run things by you and get checked all the time. Yeah, I love that. That's a true sign of trust, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fully remote?
No, I'm a hybrid. So about 3 days a week I'm in. This week
Okay.
exception.
Okay. So do you have a preference, and not personal preference, but a preference that allows you to work better with the business units? Does that just lend itself more to in person, or do you find that you're able to work remotely and still have the same kinds of relationships that you need to have in order to, people feel comfortable to, check you and stuff?
So I think my circumstance might be a little unique. When most of my career was in the office 5 days a week. Working with my team in the building. But then when I joined Sensia, like we formed Sensia in October 2019. Fast forward a few months, pandemic happened. So we were a brand new company, a joint venture between Rockwell and Schlumberger. So trying to build this culture together. You have like 1,100 people spread out around the globe, and now all of a sudden we're told to stay at home and work that way. So I had to make a lot of my initial relationships via Teams, via the phone call. And we did that for a year or so before the world got normal again. And it just the way it so happens is that was our normal. So it's nice to see these people, but we had to figure it out. Like more often than not, I'm going to talk to someone via Teams. And then honestly, with our legal team is relatively small. We have about 6 to 7 people globally. But I provide a lot of global support for my role. Like I'm gonna be dealing with people over the phone or over Teams more often than not. And so it's like whether I'm in the office to take a phone call or I'm home to take a phone call, not that big a difference for me.
Right, that makes sense. Right there, and I guess before this whole work from home thing, still much of our relationships were by phone. Weren't video calls; they were just phone calls. So tell me about that. So you were new. The company was new. It was a startup. Did you have to take much of the initiative to set up meet and greets with people and get to know yous and all that?
I think everyone was so excited about this new opportunity. Like I'm reaching out to people are reaching out to me. We're trying to figure out, like, it's I've worked on plenty of acquisitions before. I even was on integration teams for an acquisition, but this is my first joint venture. And so you have like 2 different cultures coming in and with a mandate that we're going to make a new third culture. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, we use all these funny acronyms over at Schlumberger. I don't know these Rockwell acronyms, so I got to talk to the Rockwell people to figure out what they're talking about. And then we're going to call whatever something completely new, with the new Sensia acronym.
That's funny.
It was a bit of a learning curve, but I mean, we were all in the same boat, and so I think that made it a bit easier.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Into something.
So let's top it off a little bit with AI. Are you seeing any impact in-house? Anything with contract management? Is it impacting anything else? Maybe the amounts you're being charged by your outside counsel?
It's still early days for us. We've been approached by outside counsel about, like, how do you feel about using AI?
Okay.
And my company is in the digital technology space for the oil field. And so we're looking at AI. It'd be very hypocritical for me to say, I don't trust it. We're, open to it. And we're just saying, look, I mean, obviously if something's wrong, we're going to hold the firm accountable, not, ChatGPT or Copilot, what have you. So, if you feel comfortable using it, you vet it, go right ahead. How different is it than, people trusting Westlaw in the early days of adoption? As far as contract management tools, it's something we're looking into for ourselves. And I think, I haven't been able to tell directly whether any of our customers or vendors are generating most of their documents via AI. Just, it's not obvious yet, which I hope it never would be obvious.
Yeah, right.
I can imagine, everyone's looking into it. Everyone's trying to, figure out how to use their data better and to streamline costs. I was just thinking about this the other day. You and I both started off in private practice, and you're going to think back to when you were a first-year attorney, some of the grunt work you used to have to do, whether it's helping out with a discovery project or doing due diligence.
Right.
And now you have AI tools to do that.
Right.
I think, what were those fun days to work on? Maybe not. It taught us a lot of skills about reading a bunch of stuff that you might not care about, and focus, staying on task, and staying detail oriented.
Yeah.
I wonder what the new generation of lawyers will look like, but we'll figure that out in 5-10 years when AI.
I have a lot of thoughts on that. And if you talk about the like document review, it's not the first time it's happened. It's always transitioned, right? There was a time there were boxes in a warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
And imagine how long it took those people to shift through paper by paper. Then it went to, probably more our generation where we were like clicking. And I thought it was the best thing because I could bill for document review and sit there at like the pool and review documents and just click, 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 click. How inefficient it was to linear clicking, right? Even when you use search terms to call it, you still had hundreds of thousands, all kinds of documents that had to be reviewed. But and then you have predictive coding, which has been around for quite some time. So predictive coding's been there, and that's more like your Pandora. It still involves an attorney to train the system. I did that one time. I used predictive coding on a case. So I think AI, is kind of the next step on that. I'm not even sure what's out there on the document review space. I haven't personally used anything. I'm sure a tool like Watson could be used hyper efficiently to review millions of documents. I guess there's always the fear that, and this is a client fear. I think that's also an attorney fear is not leaving every stone unturned, So you got to judge, is it worth it to have everyone click one by one? And the cost, they're probably going to zone out anyway, clicking one by one. They might miss
You're right. You're right.
Hours of doing that. But it's an interesting topic, and does it take away from, the development of an attorney? That's why I like talking about these issues.
Yeah, because I think, I learned so much from doing just those early, deals, due diligence. Like, I'm not in whatever business, was like, oh, this is kind of what these type of leasing contracts look like. And you read an up and you see like, oh, this is what they care about. This, okay, here's an outlier. What happened there? You just learn so much more about the business, even though like here I am, corporate deal attorney, and now I know how like I guess a serious heavy machine lease works and where the risk is handled, or how some real estate deals work. I wasn't really into real estate, but had to learn enough. So it served me well as moving to in-house counsel, where you're just kind of pinged to whatever issue comes up. You kind of have to have some knowledge about it. And like I said, in AI, I'm sure could read through those, 1,000 contracts, create a great due diligence memo saying, hey, here are some of the, general themes, here are the outliers, and as a, the deal attorney, I'd be happy to have that information quick. As a client, I'd be happy to have it cheap or cheaper than paying, 5-10 associates, God knows what they're billing now, just to, to read these things. But
right. Yeah.
Exactly. We gotta learn somewhere.
So let's end with a question that I ask sometimes. Not everyone might. You think you might have a good story. So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in-house?
Well, even though I'm on I've been in compliance for a while, so I see some crazy things there, but I'm not going to share that story. I'm going to share.
No, don't share anything confidential.
Yeah, but I was in a funny negotiation, and I guess the crazy thing about it is I think someone was trying to be a little too smart for their own good, and might have just, didn't understand their audience, and maybe didn't understand when you might want to have a meeting like this. So I'm, negotiating a large equipment contract in oil and gas. And, something you do all the time. But what this company our customer wanted to do is they brought in the top 3 bidders for this project, had us all in the same conference room together. And then with just the lawyers, not the salespeople, not, potential future project managers, just legal. And we were walking through the contract and they're saying, okay, company A, I saw you took an exception to this. What's your position? And I think their idea was to have us do a race to the bottom, say, oh, we can give up on this. Yes, our standard warranty is 12 months. We'll make it 36 for you. But this was the first, round of like in-person negotiations. And, as a lawyer, you kind of, even though it's not about winning the negotiation, you don't want to give away the farm,
right.
First pass. You have to have something to fall back to. And so we're all just taking a strong position. So I was like, my company's standard warranty is this. If you're interested in an extended warranty, we can discuss that, but we'll have an increased cost.
Yeah.
And so the lawyer next to me, like he's listening to all this, and he's like, yeah, company B also agrees that our standard warranty is going to cost X, Y, and Z. And so he's thinking he's going to move us or like have us like get into a feeding frenzy. But we're all like, no, this is unreasonable. I have to agree with my good friend at company C. No supplier would ever do that. We already know where the last 3 standing. You already pick based on either technology or price. And we're all saying these are the legal risks that you have to, swallow. And it's just, I think the customer didn't appreciate that maybe if you had a different audience, like a salesperson who's held
right
numbers and anything, just sign the paper.
Yep.
Or, but you're talking to legal who's going to get judged on, wait, you gave up what? You gave up this, you gave up that. And we're all just kind of like, I need to fight the good fight. Not just going to say, yeah, I agreed to, a 4-year warranty when no one else was going to. I just had, I left that was the only time I've ever been in negotiation like that. I was like, I don't know what this guy was thinking.
That's funny. You guys ganged up on him.
Yeah. I mean, how often do I work together and, like have that opportunity where we're all the lawyers that I'm kind of, I never get to see them. And part of me is thinking like, if we were just in a vacuum, maybe in the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh, company B, Intel says they really want this project because it's going to, open up a new market for them. We have to be amenable. But when I see company B saying no, why am I going to say yes right there?
Mm-hmm. Right. 100%. That's funny. Good story. Well, Xavier, thanks for joining us today and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
My pleasure, Chris. My pleasure.
All right. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. You have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye.